most of y'all know Dr. Seuss as your children's novelist, right? Your Days of Glory, right? But most people don't know that Dr. Seuss was a political cartoonist for a magazine called PM. And in this interwar period, Dr. Seuss is going to be writing a lot of political cartoons. And we're going to look at the pre-World War II timeline of the stuff that happens from 32 to 41 that's going to get the U.S. involved. And he's going to have reoccurring things in PM magazine of what is going on and how the U.S. is reacting. So looking at this is, what character is this? Uncle Sam. It's Dr. Seuss's Uncle Sam. It says, what a lucky thing, we got separate beds. The beds are supposed to represent the hemispheres. This is the Western Hemisphere, and everything's pretty chummy over here, right? We get to sleep. But in the Eastern Hemisphere, is everything looking good? No, we have poverty because of the Depression, right? We have terrorist organizations rising up that we think of as communists. We have dictators rising up, which we've seen in Italy and Germany and in Japan, and we have discontent and also weapons of mass destruction that are going to be developed. So what we're going to be looking at is his political cartoons, and we have a timeline. On this timeline, this was something that y'all used to have to do on your own, but I'm going to do it with you because I just wanted to show you the Dr. Seuss stuff because I think it's kind of cool as an analysis tool as we go through this stuff. But in chapter 34 of the white book, or it's chapter 33 in the blue book, y'all are not using those books, right? Because we're doing this together. We're going to do a short explanation of stuff, of the event that are bolded. Do y'all see where it says First Neutrality Act, Second Neutrality Act, Peace at Any Priceism? But we're going to determine, is that isolationism? Do you get what that word means? Isolation. By yourself. If you're sick, do they isolate you? Yes, people with the coronavirus today, are they trying to isolate them? Yes, please isolate them so we don't have this disease spread. So isolation means we're to ourselves. Transition means that we're transitioning in a policy to get involved in the war, but we're not fully involved. And the last one is support of the allies, that we're fully there on their side helping them. So as I go through those bolded words, we're going to determine, are we isolationists by ourselves, staying out? Are we transition, kind of getting involved in the war? Are we fully supportive of the allies? So one of the things that I have to point out is most of you don't realize that when FDR becomes president, that's the same year that Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany. And amidst that, here's one of our political cartoons, and this is going to be talking about an organization here in America. It's called The Wolf Chewed Up the Children and Spit Out Their Bones, but those were foreign children, so it really didn't matter. Adolf the Wolf. America First. This is led by a guy that y'all know. His name is Charles Lindbergh. Remember that dude? What did Charles Lindbergh do? Across the Atlantic, right? And we also know that they stole his kid, right? And his kid died. They were using him as ransom, which led to those federal child laws that if you took a kid over state lines, they would give you death penalty. This is going to be a name of an organization called America First, that they want to be isolationists. Okay? America First. They want to make America great. Oh, you've heard that phrase, right? They're against immigrants. Oh, wait, isn't this what we see today? Remember, I keep on telling you there's these running lines of how history repeats itself, right? So here is Charles Lindbergh's, and they're saying, should we get involved with the atrocities that are going on in the Eastern Hemisphere? No, stay out. So what are we being? Are we being transitionary, being in part of the Allies, or we're just isolationist? This is our big isolationist group. So we're going to look at Hitler introduces compulsory military service. Is this a violation of the Treaty of Versailles? Having a military, is that a violation? Yes. So he later takes the Rhineland. Was he supposed to take land over according to the Treaty of Versailles? No. So he's openly violating the Treaty of Versailles. But is anybody coming in to be like, no, no, Hitler, you don't take places. No, no, Hitler, you don't have military. No one is enforcing the Treaty of Versailles. Who is that group of people in the Treaty of Versailles that should have come in and slapped Hitler on the wrist? The League of Nations. Mussolini will take Ethiopia, and someone should have come and said, no, Mussolini, you don't take land. No, no, no. But no one does because they're appeasing. Y'all get what that word is, right? So what we're going to look at is the First Neutrality Act. Don't write anything down because we will do a summation. we're going to determine, is it isolation, is it transition, or is it allies? So the first Neutrality Act passed by Congress prohibit the export of arms. What do we mean by arms? Weapons, ammunition, and implements of war from the United States to any foreign nation at war, and requiring arms manufacturing in the United States to apply for an export license. So basically, let's summarize this. What can't the U.S. set out of its borders? No weapons. So that's what we're going to put, no weapons exported on first Neutrality Act. No weapons exported. Is that aiding the allies? Is that transition that we're getting involved in a war? Is that isolationism? So put I right next to it. Okay, I want you to think about the causes of World War I. What did we say that acronym was?
Oh, lust dies.
Lust dies, okay? Why was the Lusitania and the Sussex being attacked? Because they had what on it, supposedly?
Weapons.
Weapons. Did we have economic ties to the Allies? Yes. Is this preventing a cause of World War I? FDR is looking back at, not lust dies back then, because I don't think he had that acronym, okay? But he's looking back at the causes of World War I, and he's saying, look, if we don't send munitions, could we get involved in a war? No. So he's trying to prevent war. Okay, what animal is this? Do y'all see what it says on his, I don't know, what is this called, of an ostrich? Torso, something, I'm not good with anatomy. What does it say? So FDR is trying to keep us isolationist. But again, what does the ostrich do when it's scared? It puts its head
In the ground.
and does it see what's coming in the background? And we are going to run this policy of isolationism. By running that isolationism, we're going to be sideswept about what's going to bring us into this war. 1936, the Spanish Civil War starts. Y'all studied this last year in world history about Francisco Franco having a civil war and Spain not being involved in World War II. The Second Neutrality Act is passed in February of that year. This act will renew the provisions from the first one, no arms for export, but what you're going to put, it forbid loans. Wait, didn't loans cost World War I? So now we can't make loans. Are we going to get pulled into a war? No, he's trying to prevent the reasons for war. So is this aiding the Allies? Is this transition to us getting involved? Or is this isolationism? Isolationism. So put I. The next one on here is peace at any priceism. Peace at any priceism. Determined to stay out of the war. America declined to build up its armed forces to a point where it could deter aggressors. So what are we doing with our military? Demilitarizing. Okay. Okay. We are demilitarizing. We are shrinking our military. Is that good? Because when World War I happens, World War II happens in 41, are we going to be ready?
No.
Because what have we just done to our military? We declined to build it up. So is this aiding the Allies? Is this transitioning for us getting ready for war? Or is this isolationism? He says if we don't have a military, we won't have to go to war. But that's a huge issue because now we've just decreased our size of our military. Are we going to be prepared when it's hacked? FDR is elected for a second term. Third Neutrality Act. No American can legally sail on a belligerent ship, sell or transport munitions on a belligerent, or make loans to a belligerent. Wait, we already done the loans, right? We already talked about the transport of munitions. So basically we cannot what on this one? Right, no sale. Why is that from World War I? Why is it that we should not be on other people's ships? Do we have any incidents that we could recall? Lusitania, Sussex, okay? So he's trying to prevent Americans from getting killed. Again, is this isolationism that he's trying to keep us out of the war, transition where he's trying to get us involved in the war, or is this aiding the Allies? This is isolationism. Do y'all see what animal is this? And it's trying to pretend what's not there. The building up of this war. So the next one, we've already seen this one. Japan attacks China. Did Hoover even try to deal with that? He was like, no, I just won't even acknowledge it. Now Japan attacks China again. Hoover's going to call it an incident. Let's just think about this. Christian and Damien get into a fight. They start brawling it out, and the principals come in here. I was like, no, it's not a fight. They're just hugging it out.
My money's on Damien.
Dang, bro.
Have I just dismissed the issue at hand by saying that they're hugging it out? And that is what Roosevelt is doing here. He's dismissing that Japan has invaded China and this is a war. But Roosevelt did not want to call it a war. He says if he called it a war, he would have to put the neutrality restrictions in. So this would have cut off the munitions that the Chinese needed to fight Japan. So the only reason why he's not calling it a war so is he could give what to China? Weapons. So that's what we're going to put here. FDR calls China an incident so he could give the Chinese needed weapons. Is this isolationism? Are we at transition? We're getting involved in a war now? Are we fully aiding the Allies? Okay, so is this isolationism or is this transition to getting involved in the war? So let's label this as T. We're getting involved in stuff. But according to Roosevelt, we're not getting involved in stuff because this is not a what? But is it kind of a war?
Yes.
Okay. FDR gives the quarantine speech. With recent acts by aggressors such as Italy and France, FDR called for positive endeavors to quarantine the aggressors, and what y'all are going to write is economic embargoes. We are not going to send stuff to these nations so they can make war. Is this isolationism? Are we getting involved in transitioning, getting involved in taking a stance in this war? So this is T. So again, there's the ostrich, and what's going on around this ostrich? Bombs. But the ostrich, is he even acknowledging it? No, he's just, nothing's happening. It's just a good old day.
So embargoes to Italy and France?
Huh?
The embargoes to Italy.
In France. Okay, embargo to Italy and France. But again, this is transition. The next thing that happens, Hitler invades Austria. Is this a violation of the Treaty of Versailles? Yes. So someone should come in saying, no, 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 Hitler, you don't get to take that stuff over, right? And in the Munich conference, Hitler says, look, I just need the Sudetenland. And the reason why he wants the Sudetenland, he says there's people of the German race there, I just want to unite them. I want to bring them back to their German Republic. And he says, I promise, this is my last territorial demand in Europe. And they appease him. They say, okay, fine. What does appease mean? They've given. What has Hitler learned? He could get with whatever he wants. So this is another Dr. Seuss. The guy who led the Munich conference, his name is Neville Chamberlain. He's the prime minister from England. He says, and on this platform, the most amazing marvel of his age, he lives, he talks, yet the guy has no guts. Because who didn't he stand up to? Hitler. After that, he takes Czechoslovakia. So really, was that his last territorial claim? No, Hitler has learned he could be appeased. He will get whatever he wants. Do y'all know what animal this is? I thought it was the Loch Ness Monster too, but apparently it's a hydra.
Hydra, oh, that too.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, I didn't know what it was called, but this is a hydra. What is this a hydra of? A Nazi hydra. Okay, this is the Nazi hydra in reference to Germany. Do y'all see the little guy on the island? It says appeaser, and he's giving out lollipops, right? He's like, remember, one more lollipop, and then you will all go home. And the lollipops are a reference to the land that's being given, right? And they're like, okay, just one more, and he'll be fine. Really? Is the hydra going to be fine? He's just going to want what? More. Hitler invades Poland. He wanted more. And this is what's officially going to start World War II off. So, Congress will pass the Fourth Neutrality Act. It's called cash and carry. Just listen to me talk about what cash and carry is, so y'all can understand that we probably don't need to write anything. It says European democracies might buy American war materials, but only on a cash and carry basis. This meant that they would have to transport the munitions on their own ships after paying for them in cash. Okay? Do I need to write anything for cash and carry? Basically, what are those European countries having to do? Pay cash So do I need to write an explanation? Is this isolation? Is this transition that we're getting involved in the war? Or is this fully aiding the Allies? Transition. So put T. And you know we don't have to write anything because cash means they're having to give us what?
Actual cash.
And carry means they have to put it. And Roosevelt felt if they paid cash and they carried it on their own boats, that we would avoid getting involved in war. Because would we have any debts?
No.
Would we have any boats that they're attacking? Okay, so again, here it is. It's all yours, lad. Just come out and get it. So the U.S. will give $30 million to Finland for non-military supplies. The Soviet Union, and you have to understand that the Soviet Union, y'all learned this last year in world history, has signed a non-aggression pact with Germany, that they're not going to fight each other, so that Germany only has one front to fight a war on. Amidst this, which most people don't think of, is that when Germany takes parts of Poland, Russia takes parts of Poland. Russia becomes aggressive too, and they take parts of Finland. And Finland wants help. So the United States comes in, and the Finnish people, they're debt-paying people. So the U.S. says, we will loan you the money. And it's for non-military supplies, but they're flattened by the Soviets. Are we fully aiding the Allies, or are we transitioning and getting involved in the war? So just put T. Do we really have to spell anything out here? Because it says we give them money for non-military supplies. Is it self-explanatory? The next thing, France falls. And Germany will take over this new area. Now the only thing standing in Germany's way of domination in Europe is England. And y'all studied this battle last year in world history. That the Germans were coming in and attacking their major cities. They were attacking all of their industrial centers. But the British Navy had something to be able to detect the German Luftwaffe.
Oh.
That's sonar, but it's what? Radar. And so that's why sonar is going to come soon. Okay? That's why in the Battle of Britain, the British are able to defeat the Germans. But it's not fully ended the war. Is the U.S. worried about the war coming here?
Yes.
Look at this political cartoon. It says, relax, Sam. I assure you the express turns right here. So what is this a train of? And it's coming down this train. It's appeasement junction. Does appeasement work?
No.
Okay, so Congress, and I don't think we need to write much on this one because it's kind of self-explanatory. Congress appropriates $37 billion for a Navy and an Armed Corps. Hooray, because what have they done to the military before at this with peace and ending priceism? Okay, they demilitarize it. So FDR calls up Congress in this debt-burdened nation to basically build huge air fleets and a two-ocean navy. Is this aiding the Allies, or is this transitioning to getting involved in the war? FDR realizes we are going to be getting involved, so we're transitioning to getting prepared, right? The next one on this list, which I don't have on here, is the conscription, the Selective Service Act. It's requiring men 18 to 40 to register for military service. Ooh, are we aiding the Allies, or are we transitioning to getting involved in that war? So put T. Okay, we're going to look at the political cartoon because I know y'all are looking at this. Where is this guy at? A bathtub, but what is the bathtub supposed to represent?
America's hemispheres.
Okay, so that's the Western Hemisphere. And what's in our hemisphere?
Nazis.
Okay, do y'all see these little, I don't know what this is. That's a little crab, I guess. A lobster crab or something.
Oh, crawdad.
I don't know. I don't eat those things. Okay,
It's a crustacean.
hey, a shark.
Octopus.
Okay, and then
Alligator.
and they all have what on it?
Nazis.
Okay, so
Swast.
a scorpion.
Right?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Why would a scorpion want to get
I'm scared of them all. That's a scary scorpion that will walk on water. Ugh. Okay.
Well, lobsters are part of the scorpion family, so.
Oh yeah, so scorpion, lobster, you know, but a lobster is more delicious than a scorpion.
I like
Okay, so now that we've had our array of animal issues today, what are these supposed to represent? You're like, oh, an octopus, oh, an alligator. What are they supposed to represent that's in the ocean that is German?
The U-boats.
U-boats and submarines. So this guy was like, the old family bathtub is plenty safe for me. Really, are the waters safe?
No.
And so the U.S. is going to create some false realities for themselves, trying to say that the waters will be safe. The first one is at the Havana Conference, where we meet with other Latin American countries. The United States will agree with the 20 New World nations that we will take responsibility for upholding the Monroe Doctrine. So all I want you to write is the Monroe Doctrine on that one. Because we're going to say we're going to keep the Europeans out of our hemisphere so we don't get drawn into a war. Really? Are they going to be able to keep them out of their hemisphere? No. Is this a false reality that they keep on telling themselves? So is this isolation, transition, or we're said we're going to keep them out of our hemisphere. Are we fully being isolated? Or are we going to fight them if they try to come in? Okay, so is this transition or is this aiding the allies? Transition, put T. The next one is destroyers for bases. Please do not write anything down, because I promise when I read the little explanation, maybe the title will tell us a lot. It says, he agreed to transfer Great Britain 50-year-old model 4-funnel destroyers left over from World War I. In return, the British promised to hand over the United States 8 valuable defense base sites, which will remain with the U.S. for 99 years. Looking at this, what are we giving them? Ships. What are they giving us? So doesn't this explain it all? Do you need to write any of this down? So is this fully aiding the allies, or is this transitioning? We're kind of getting involved in a war. Transition. Okay? This is transition. And you'll see why when I get to the one that's fully aiding the allies. Now Japan joins Germany and Italy to form the Axis powers. So, I want us to look at this political cartoon. FDR is elected for a 3rd term, but we now know Japan has joined the Axis. Do y'all know that little, I don't know what it's called, that little, it's a box where you wind it up and then the little thing, Jack in a Box, there you go. Okay, and the monkey with the little clam, with the symbols. Okay, that's what in reference here. Do you see Hitler over here? He's winding up that Jack in a Box. And what has he sent over? To pop out of the box, a Jap in the box, right? Someone said that in the other class, and I can't believe I said it today. I am recording. Hey, Master, who knows if anybody will watch it? Master, what can I do when they don't come across? We know that's going to be the answer. But this is a similar in kind, just different in time, because Germany did the same thing with another nation in World War I. What was that nation that they tried to ploy the U.S. into a war with?
Oh, Mexico.
Mexico. Aren't they doing the same thing with Japan right here? Ah, they're using you, Japan. They're using you. Okay, so our next one. The first U.S. embargo. I want you to look at this. You don't probably need to write anything down. But because Japan has joined the Axis, the U.S. is going to put an embargo on steel and scrap iron. This is stuff that they need to build airplanes with. Are we fully aiding the Allies or transitioning to getting involved in the war? So put T. Do you need to write anything down? It's written all there for you. Congress passes the Lend-Lease Bill. This is an economic declaration of war. The U.S. would become the arsenal of democracy. It would send limitless supplies of arms to the victims of aggression, who in turn would finish the job and keep the war on their side of the Atlantic. Accounts would be settled, returning the used weapons or their equivalents to the United States when the war started. So Lend-Lease, what are we doing? Aiding. So is this transition or is this full aid to the Allies?
Full aid.
All out aid to our allies. So just put A now. We are now in this war. Even though we haven't had what? Congress hasn't declared war, but FDR is saying we are sending them weapons. So I want us to think about Lend-Lease. I specifically want us to think about the word lend. How many of you would lend me gum? James, you're so nice. Preston, you're so nice. Michaela. Okay. Oh, whoa. Okay, now you're like, well, don't lend her gum, because that means that I get the gum, I get to eat the gum, salivate on the gum, and then what?
Spit it out.
Spit it out.
No, I'm not going to spit it out. I'm going to give it right back to you because you lent it to me.
What?
How many of you would lend me gum now? Preston, yes. He's just like, I'm going to take all your germs and I'm going to go clone you. Because I just need someone like you in my life. Okay? No, but really, would y'all lend people gun? No, you'd be like, I'll give it to you. And I want you to think about this in reference to our military weapons. Are we really going to ask them to pick up every single shell and return it to us? Okay? So lend means what here? Give. Even though we're saying that they would give us the equivalents at the end of the war, will they ever be able to collect all that stuff to be equivalent? So we're now going back into debt for this war. So this is why it's A. This is an economic declaration of war, but we still need our event. And in history, what do we know is an event that could pull us into war? Boats. So we need our boat event. So then German torpedoes start sinking merchant ships. We should go to war. But y'all don't know about the Robin Moor off the coast of Africa. This is not our event to galvanize our nation yet. Okay. Hitler then breaks the Nazi-Soviet pact and invades the USSR. And so if y'all see here, here's Russia, the big beast. Coming in, there's Hitler pulling him, and he's going to put him on his wall. All the other places he's taken over. So the U.S. will send billions of dollars to the USSR as aid in the Lend-Lease. FDR would send $1 billion, then later $11 billion. Is this transition or is this fully aiding the Allies? It's A. Do you need to write anything down? But this goes back to that phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And this is why we make crazy bedfellows with Russia. But it's what happens with this crazy bedfellowship that is going to cause the Cold War, which we'll get to after spring break. Japan occupies French Indochina, and this will eventually lead to the reason of the Vietnam War, which we'll get to after spring break. The next one, the U.S. freezes all assets and places an embargo on supplies to Japan. Japan was fatally dependent on immense shipments of U.S. steel, scrap iron, and oil, and aviation gasoline for their what? Air Force, for their military. Many people, the assistance of the Japanese aggressor was unpopular in America. So is this transition or is this fully aiding the Allies by us not sending stuff to the Axis? Aiding the Allies, so A. Do I need to explain anything? No, because all supplies for war. The U.S. Navy will escort Lend-Lease ships halfway to Great Britain. So looking at our little Poco cartoon, 2/3 of the way to England. Our boats are going there. What is FDR thinking that's going to happen to our boats? If they get sunk, what is that going to cause us to get involved in? He is fishing for a war with this. So is this transition or fully aiding the Allies? Okay, do I need to explain escorting the ships up there? No, right? This is A. He is fishing for a war. Then he meets with Churchill. And they will sign an Atlantic Charter Treaty. They're signing a treaty. And this is going to outline the aspirations of the democracies for a better world at the war's end. Wait, are we even in the war yet? And he's signing a treaty about the war's end. Is Roosevelt looking to get involved in this war? And he says the war aspirations is that there will be no territorial changes, rights for people to choose their own form of government, the creation of a general security organization, a new League of Nations. What's this new League of Nations that he has in his mind? UN. The UN. So here, is Roosevelt transitioning or is he, in his head, fully aiding the Allies? So just put A. We're not going to write much about the Atlantic Charter here because y'all know it's him just planning this stuff even though we're not involved in the war. This next one. The Navy issues a shoot-on-sight policy against German submarine ships, September. Hitler ordered only to strike American warships in self-defense. A U.S. destroyer gear proactively trailing a German U-boat was attacked by an undersea craft without much damage to either side. FDR will declare a shoot-on-sight policy for German submarines. Wait, what is... You can't see them, but if you do see them, you got we have stuff underwater that we can detect. But looking at this, a shoot on sight. They see a German submarine. There's the little German submarine, right? They're gonna shoot it, hoping. Do you see the exclamation part is in distress? It scared itself. Okay, but it has a little swastika, which is a scary sign. So this exclamation point is scared. But if an American boat were to see, if the American Navy boat were to see a German ship, it shoots on sight, what would the German boat do in reaction? And this would cause us to be in what? Roosevelt is desperately trying to get us involved in this war. And most of us think, oh, Pearl Harbor happening out of nowhere. But is Roosevelt being an aggressor here to try to find us a way into this war? Because we are economically there with the Allies. We just need the event, right? So what is this? T or A? A, this is aiding the Allies. Congress with Withdrawal the Neutrality Act. And what you're going to write is now merchant ships are armed. So what would happen to a merchant ship if attacked by the Germans? It would shoot back, and that would cause us to get involved in a war. You'll have to see that the government is setting this up. The U.S. meets with the Japanese. We inform them that we have broken their code. And when we broke their code, we understood that they said they would attack an American place in the Pacific. We did a map on imperialism. I want you to tell me the American possessions in the Pacific. Besides Hawaii, Philippines. It's a little place. Puerto Rico is in the Atlantic.
Is it
Guam, Philippines, Guam.
Isn't there the island up near Japan? Or that was a piece. Never mind.
Okay, there is an island that sounds like a Girl Scout cookie.
Midway.
Samoa. Samoa. I didn't get a picture finder. I'm sorry. Samoa. Okay, just take. Oh, can you leave it with me? Did you have a study guide in there? No, take it. I'll grade it next time. Okay. So, wait. Is there several places that they could attack? Y'all said Philippines, Guam, Midway, Samoa, the Coral. There's all these little islands that we didn't do, but there's several places. Most of the major ones that I just talked about have military bases on them. FDR knew that they were going to attack. So what he did in reaction to after breaking their code is that we have military there. We have naval craft there. He left half in port and sent half on excursion. Why did he leave the half in port if they knew he was going to attack at those ports?
Because the excursion was going to come back.
Sitting ducks. Sitting ducks. He left them in the port so that they would be what? Bait. So that they would be what?
How do you do something?
Because if he didn't leave enough, would they attack?
No.
If he took them all out, would they attack? So if he was trying to keep us out of the war, he would have taken all the military out of that area. Put the fleet in the ocean, because they're harder to attack. By leaving at least half in the port, did that allow for the Japanese to attack? And so most of us think of December 7th only happening in Hawaii. But December 7th happened in the Philippines. It happened in Midway. It happened in Guam as well. But our biggest fleet is in Pearl Harbor. And so Japan attacks Pearl Harbor December 7th. FDR goes to Congress on December 8th and asks for a formal declaration of war. He says this date will live in infamy. Infamy is a very bad famous. The United States was suddenly, really? Was it suddenly? No. Deliberately. Was it deliberate? No, but that's what he's saying to the American public, because does the American public know everything that was going on policy-wise? And he says it was attacked by the naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. So here again is the ostrich. He is reading the book, The Rules of Engagement on Conduct in Combat. And who's over here? Japan and Hitler, Hideki Tojo. There's Pearl Harbor, Manila, places that they attacked. Okay, so now we're in a war. Hey, and so are we fully aiding the Allies now? Yes.